Stops, launches deep. Jalen Guyton, he's got it! Touchdown Chargers! What a throw! 4 seconds left in the game, but this is likely the final play that matters. End zone wide open. What a night for Mike Williams. And the Chargers have their first lead of the night.
Welcome to another edition of ChargersCast. I'm your host, Kirk Brewer. I've been a Chargers fan since 1978. ChargersCast is a podcast about everything Los Angeles Chargers, for fans, by fans. So let's get right into it. We've got a lot to talk about today. We have training camp and 3 preseason games under our belt, and we're now in that window between the last preseason game and week 1. I have the pleasure of being joined today by 2 other diehard Chargers fans, and this is exactly what ChargersCast is about, is getting together with Chargers fans and talking about our beloved Los Angeles, former San Diego, don't want to leave that out, Chargers. So without further ado, we've got Brendan Isham. I got it down from last time, man. Brennan Isham from Chargers.District and Andrew Loya from Boltcasa. Did I get that right?
That's right, man.
Awesome. I am so glad to have you guys here with me talking Bolts. And we have a lot to talk about. So welcome, gentlemen. I say we get right into it. Preseason games. Let's just let's start with that first preseason game. You know, it's the first game of the Harbaugh era. It was against the Seahawks. Boy, the Seahawks actually looked pretty good in that game compared to our roster. Andrew, what give me your summary? What was your take on that game? Maybe a couple positions, couple players that maybe we should be highlighting out of that game. Good or bad?
I'll start by saying this. There's one thing that the 3 of these games kind of have in common, maybe outside the most recent one, but this game, we put up a field goal in the second quarter, and that was it. I mean, we had a ton of 3 and outs, and to me, Easton Stick is the one that sticks out to me during this whole preseason. And I'm not going to make this whole preseason conversation about Easton Stick. I'm not here to put him in the dirt, but it was exhausting to watch. So him out of all the players, to me, he was just a pretty big bummer for sure. But I was just looking at a stat here.
If you're looking at his stats, they were abysmal. I think he had like an 18 QB rating. It was just abysmal.
Yeah, okay, so this is what I was trying to get at. So, like, our rusher leader that game was Jarrett Patterson, who I think we're going to be talking about a lot here in the preseason because we didn't see Kamani Vidal. We saw a lot of Patterson. And then who do you guys think was the receiving yard leader?
I'm going to say Simi Fehoko, to be honest, because he was killing it in the preseason. So,
yeah, I don't know if he was in that game, but I think that's the one I'll go with. If not, it was one of those underling guys that's like a camp body that's probably not even going to make the team.
Yeah, and Kirk, you're right. It was Jalen Johnson.
Yeah.
And to me, as we get going in this pod, I think we might all agree that Jalen Johnson's probably not going to make, if they keep 7, I don't think he's in that top 7. But yeah, he had 3 receptions, 53 yards. So he played pretty good. But that game, just in general, was a stinker, guys. Ton of 3 and outs. Yeah, it was a stinker.
For sure. Pretty much all the way around. I would probably say two players that stood out to me in that game were Cameron Dicker, just because the kid's money. Like money. And then Joe Alt. I think Joe Alt played, if he didn't play the whole game, he played a lot of snaps in that game. And those were significant snaps for him to get accustomed to the NFL, speed of the NFL, and get his feet wet on the right side, which is a move for him, which he's seemed to be just taken to it really nicely. So I think those were important reps for him, and I think he showed out well. But otherwise, that game was just completely uneventful, other than me finally throwing in the towel on Easton Stick. That game for me was kind of it, and he was going to have to light it up the next two games for me to kind of come back around and be in his camp, which I have been for years. But at this point, under the new regime, I'm sitting there, and we'll talk more about it in these next couple games. Kind of sitting there going, I think he's had enough time to prove whether he's a capable backup or not. So what about you, Brennan? What stood out in that game to you?
Pretty much the same thing that you guys were saying. Just to piggyback off what Andrew was saying, I think we're so used to that high-powered offense from Justin Herbert and always being able to score, where in this preseason we scored our first touchdowns in the third preseason game. So I feel like as fans we weren't really expecting this low scoring, and I think we're putting all the pressure on Easton Stick since he was the main play caller throughout the whole preseason and pretty much that main guy. So I feel like that first game, like you guys were saying, wasn't too good. Easton Stick underperformed, doing a lot of turnovers. However, I think my main thing I got out of that game was the defense. I think like I said, we're used to the offense being so good and our defense always having to try to work their way up to the offense and try to help them out some way, where in the last couple games our defense has been the main purpose of all of these games. Is they are the ones that are making these 3-and-outs. They're the ones that are making these big turnovers, and it's really stepped up from the Staley regime and him doing the play calling. So whatever Minner's doing, it's working very well.
Yeah, I would summarize that by saying I think the defense is definitely ahead of the offense. And part of that is obviously because Justin has been out and Stick has been in. If Justin was out there, I don't think it would be as noticeable how far ahead the defense is from the offense. But maybe as we jump into game two, maybe Justin being out was a blessing for us in having an opportunity to not have his backups shielded by his presence, and they had to show what they have and what they're bringing to the table. So yeah, let's go ahead and roll into game two and kind of, what did that show? What did that reveal to you guys as far as where we're at in our new era with Harbaugh?
Yeah, so real quick, just before I leave the last game, did you guys notice Joe Alt got some snaps against Chenna Nwosa?
I did not.
Yeah, so I was happy about that. I was like, talk about my feelings towards Nwosa. Is he was a great defensive
We shouldn't have let him
player.
go. Personally.
Yeah. He was a stud, man, and I wanted to touch on that. Like, Joe Alt got a significant rep from a good caliber NFL defensive player, so that was important.
Good. I'm assuming he showed well because we weren't calling his name a whole lot, if anything, through all three of these games. He just took care of business. And Joe has a distinct advantage in that every day in practice he's going against guys like Bosa and Mack and Tooley and Bud Dupree and Morris Bash, who I think we might start talking about as we roll further into this conversation. So yeah, Joe's blessed to be in the position he's at, and then have guys like Rashawn Slater also coaching him up, and Nick Hardwick and stuff. So yeah, I did not notice that though. That's a good eye.
Yeah, so it is a unique and a very cool opportunity for Mr. Joel. But week 2 with the Rams.
We had just come out of some scrimmages with them too, so we were a little more familiar with them.
Yeah, and in the scrimmages, it sounded like the reporting made it sound like we did well. We were picking it off on defense. We had a bunch of energy. We looked great. But again, like Brennan said, the touchdown didn't come until after this game. So this game was 3 field goals, first quarter, second quarter, fourth quarter, nothing in the third. And again, Easton Stick had 85 yards and an interception. But Kamani Vidal, 49 yards. And then here comes Semi Fehoko, 2 receptions, 52 yards. So I think this is where he kind of said, all right, I'm going to make these, these opportunities. He's going to make, this is someone who really wanted to make the roster. And 2 receptions, 52 yards is a pretty good stat line.
For sure. Kamani, this is the only game he played in the preseason, if I'm not mistaken, right? He did not play yesterday.
Yeah.
And I don't know why he didn't play yesterday. I didn't hear any excuses if he was nursing an injury or if they just didn't suit him up. I'm going to assume, it might be wrong, you know what they say when you assume, but I'm going off the assumption that second game, he showed out. He showed out in that second game. And so I think he's made the roster. And so I think they wanted to play the players that are on the bubble. And so you noticed who they played, right? Isaiah Spiller, Dotson, who I've always liked Dotson. And I always like Spiller, but Spiller's feet seem slow to me when I'm watching him compared to some of the other backs. And then Patterson. And Patterson's an undrafted free agent, is he not?
No, he was drafted by the Commanders, but he just was abysmal. I mean, to my understanding, it shows that he was drafted by the Commanders, or maybe he was picked up. Maybe he wasn't drafted. Maybe he was picked up
and then released.
Yeah, because he was only there for 2 years. So,
gotcha. So this is not his first season, though. He's been in previous camp with other teams. Gotcha.
Yeah, kind of abysmal on the Commanders, but yeah, that's where he was for 2 years.
Gotcha. Well, I think he's had a pretty good camp.
Yeah.
He's definitely been fighting it out. And then, of course, Dicker, still doing Dicker, right? 3 field goals, hasn't missed anything yet in preseason.
No, he knocked in a 48-yard field goal in that game, and there was 3 of them. Where was the big one?
The 58-yarder?
Yeah.
That big banana draw? Wasn't that week 1?
Yeah, that was week 1.
Yeah. It was just wicked, man.
Yeah.
It looked like my golf swing.
Yeah, that was awesome.
Yeah. What do you got on this game, Brennan? What insights did you kind of see that maybe manifesting themselves as we're getting ready to head into week 1?
So, the big thing, like you guys were saying, was I think you hit a bullseye on that one, Kirk. It was, I don't think Vidal was playing or played yesterday solely on the fact where he had such an explosive game against the Rams where we haven't really seen that from the other backs. His first 2 runs went for plus like 10 yards, I'm almost positive. And he was just making big runs, very fast, very elusive. And I think it was a spark on the offensive side that we just haven't seen from backs as of recently. So I think he definitely proved to get a spot. And I could be wrong on my facts, But Jarrett Patterson, I remember, I'm pretty sure he is from Buffalo. And something interesting from him was he actually was got famous in college for scoring, I think it was about 8 touchdowns in a game. It was 5 to 8 touchdowns in one game when he was at Buffalo. So
Really?
the guy can score touchdowns, regardless of what teams he was playing, and the conference he was in. He can score some touchdowns. So I think he's been showing some little flashes, and I think if you give him a little more time, maybe develop underneath Gus Edwards and J.K. Dobbins, it'll probably be beneficial for him. And then the last thing I got to say about that is Dicker again. I believe he did hit above another 50-yard field goal in that second game. So 2 50-plus yard field goals in back-to-back games. We talked about this last podcast, Kirk, but it feels really good to have a kicker that can actually kick field goals when we need him to.
Dude. It goes back to
So,
Carney, man. I mean, it goes back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, when the game's on the line, I'm not biting my nails and telling my mom to tell me what happened. Usually that's how it went the last couple of years. But as of recently, I am not worried. I would have my eyes glued and know that he's going to make that. Knock on wood. However, he's a very good kicker, and I feel like he's gonna be very reliable for us this upcoming season.
Yeah, well, I appreciate your confidence in that because it's been a rough go for a while. And as a longtime Chargers fan, I go back to the Ralph Benershka days, right? And then we had John Carney forever with David Benn, right? I mean, the guy's a legendary long snapper for the Bolts, and our Aussie rules punter, right? That came in and brought the backward flip, Darren Bennett, right? I mean, our special teams historically, we are stellar, and then we just went in the crapper for years, right? And then Anthony Lynn took a flyer on what's his name, Younghoe Koo, and just 3 games, the guy couldn't hit a field goal to save his life, and now he's in Atlanta, and the guy's kind of a stud. So kickers are a weird breed, and there's something about Cameron. He's just got a little something to him that I'm glad he's on our team.
Yeah, another guy who didn't do good that's actually killing it now. I mean, prayers on him for his injury. He just got injured this upcoming season. He's going to be out. But Michael Badgley, he was on our team. He didn't do too well, and he's been killing it as of recently. I'm pretty sure he had a good stint with Jacksonville, and now he's on the Lions. So that was another kicker that just wasn't not able to have that clutch vein to him, and now he's doing good. So that's another kicker. So regardless, if it was really good to have, like you said, have a kicker that we're not worried about missing field goals.
Yeah, not too many teams get lucky and get a Justin Tucker that just hangs around forever. But yeah, we'll take Cameron for sure. He's been money, and not money badger. He's just been money, period. So, anything else to sum up that second preseason game, boys?
No.
I think we're good. Sum that one up. I think the juiciest part.
Still Easton in that second game. Joe got more good reps. Our defense looked like it continued to take shape is kind of the summary that I would throw on that. And let's roll into this Dallas game because this one was a little bit different from the first two. There's some similarities, but it was a little different too. So, Andrew, you got the floor, my man.
Yeah. Here come the Chargers. Darius Davis. Boom. 70-yard run. Takes the end around. Gets the corner. As Phillip Rivers says. How does Phillip Rivers say it? He turned the corner on you. And he was gone, man. Here come the Chargers. It was to me, it looked like a little bit of the same. Easton Stick still had some 3-and-outs, but I mean, the next, right after that, then he has that 78-yard bomb to Fehoko. That was awesome. How do you guys feel about Darius Davis? That was a little glimpse of something. I know that in practice they're having him do some go routes. Yeah, that game right there, we kind of put a little bit of it together. Whatever that these backups have, this was the game that we kind of got to see them push it out there. So I thought that was pretty cool to see. Even though Trey Lance was super hot and cold throughout that whole game, kind of giving us a little scares, no matter how much success we had. But then also to add just the energy that the defense had. What's his name?
It was all backups too.
What's that?
It was all backups too, right? I
mean,
yeah. We pretty much played all backups in this game.
Yeah. So then this is the Tony Jefferson. Welcome to my show. Play like it's the last game. Play with his head on fire. Traymon Morris brash. I mean, all these guys were like, this might be it. And they really showed up. So a lot of this game right here, when I made some notes on bubble players, this was the game that they kind of put their mark to say, hey, I deserve this spot.
Yeah, and I would agree with that. And as we wrap up this game, I think that's kind of the next place we're heading, is kind of talk about some of these positions, how many we think they're going to keep. And, are there, a couple of those bubble players that, punch their ticket or flush the toilet on themselves. So, that definitely is Tony Jefferson game for sure. And, I don't think we need to wait as far as Darius Davis goes. Is any three of us think he's not making the team, especially with the new kickoff rule?
He's making it 100%.
No, right? Just the new kickoff rule alone, if they didn't even use him on offense, but he's a proven commodity on offense as well. So I think he's pretty safe.
Yeah, I'm excited to see what, this new offense can do with him for sure.
Yeah, he I don't remember if it's punts or kickoffs, so correct me if I'm wrong, but last season, his rookie season, he actually led yards per run. So it was 16 yards he averaged each time he took it was either a kickoff or a punt. So without those new rules, he was still able to lead as a rookie. With these new rules, I think he's only going to skyrocket up and only make it 2 times as better when it comes to special teams. I think he's a stellar player, like Andrew said. He's going to be definitely on our team and definitely a role player that we're going to use, especially with those end arounds. I think we're going to see those a lot with him. He's a speedster, so any play that involves speed, I feel like he's going to be involved in. And then the defensive side, I really like Tony Jefferson, like Andrew said, and even like what you guys were saying earlier, his last game, he really played like it was his last game. I think this was his. If he didn't perform like this, personally, I don't think he would have made the team. If he did, I would have been kind of surprised. However, with this performance, I feel like made it 2 times better of the chances of him making the team. It was a stellar performance. Everything I was seeing on media when I was watching it was only about Tony Jefferson, and he can still play no matter if he left football. His Ravens highlights, he hits hard. He's a ball hawk, and he showed that last game. So I'm excited regardless to see the defense and the offensive side. I think this was a great last game to wrap up the preseason to start the regular season up.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think we all were hoping to see more offense. I think everybody wants to see the offense churning efficiently. For me, Easton kind of was maybe a little bit better, but he was missing receivers horribly. When his feet are set and he's on schedule, he can get the job done adequately. But when he was on the move, he was missing receivers left. There was a bunch of interceptions that were left on the table by the Dallas defense with these tipped balls because he's throwing it behind the receiver when he's on the move, that for a guy who's supposed to be a mobile quarterback, he shouldn't be missing those. That should be his money for Easton if he's going to still have a career in the NFL. He's not clipboard Jesus. He's got to have a little bit more than that going on. So, and Jefferson, I think Jefferson still had a really good chance of making the team without showing out like he did in that game. From my perspective, I think from Ortiz down, they respect the fact that he's played in the system, and he kind of be like a coach on the field with his years of experience. But then to show out like he did and show, oh no, physically I can still get the job done, and mentally I'm still in it. I think they're easily keeping 4 safeties. I mean, we already know who number 3 is going to be, right? Safety?
AJ
Finley, right? I think JT's playing cornerback now, so Finley's got the job nailed down, and Jefferson is that guy. He's going to be the Swiss Army knife of the secondary. Jesse Minter's kind of security blanket, if you will, coach on the field is kind of how I see him.
Yeah, I actually, someone you just mentioned, I actually wanted to touch up on was JT Woods. Yeah. I've been seeing a lot of articles and a lot of insiders that have been in the training camp of the Chargers, and they have all have had high praises for JT Woods. I know last podcast, me and you were talking about and saying he was kind of the outside guy. However,
safety for sure.
Yep, you were mentioning Tony Jefferson being like a Swiss Army knife. However, I feel like JT Woods switching to corner definitely outside corner definitely helped him. He's going to be super big help, and being a Swiss Army knife, he can play safety and cornerback. We kind of saw it actually yesterday. I saw him have a great pass breakup, and I genuinely think it was because of him having the experience of being a safety. So I think it was very interesting to see him in camp and switch to that position. I think it was very beneficial for him and beneficial for our team.
Yeah, he's got skills. I mean, he came out of college as a ball hawk. I was really optimistic that the guy was just going to start showing out. Whether it was Staley's scheme, and I don't think Staley didn't use all of his personnel very well either. And so I don't know if he's going to be a victim of circumstance at the end of the day. Any additional summaries on game 3 before we head in? Maybe let's start going through some of these positions and, kind of who we think, how many are going to be, making the roster and who's on the bubble and who's out.
I do want to compliment 2 linebackers. Troy Dye, I was impressed by what he did on the field. And then Nick Niemann.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and then so Troy Dye specifically, just loved what I saw. I like what I saw from blanking on our linebacker's name here, who's ahead of him.
Dion Henley?
Henley. Yeah. So, obviously, I would say he's the starter. But Troy Dye, I mean, he's right there. But then Nick Niemann and Tony Jefferson, competitors welcome. That was the mantra. That's how they played. Loved it.
Well, and the thing both those guys have going for them is they're also awesome special teams players.
Yes.
Right? So I don't think those guys are bubble players at all. I think those guys are absolutely entrenched in that room. And I think the coaching staff knows they can depend on those guys if they have to come in and start for a week or 2 or 3, or just fill in, to finish off a game because some guy gets hurt. I don't think they are worried at all that those guys can't come in and pull their weight and at the end of the game walk away with a W because those guys won't screw something up and jeopardize losing the game. Absolutely. For sure. Yeah, those guys are the competitors welcome that Harbaugh's always talking about. And they showed up all 3 games. Those guys were playing ball, for sure.
Yeah, I didn't know much about Troy Dye, to be honest with you.
Me neither.
I was kind of like, what? I don't know. Linebacker's a tough position in the league, and
he was always a role player everywhere he went too, right?
Reading Daniel Popper, like, is Dayon in jeopardy if maybe not losing? Can he lose his position? He didn't. He looks great. Love the guy, but also love the idea that Troy Dye is playing great football.
Yeah, and it's nice to have those guys back there because that's a rough position. I mean, look at our boy Perryman, right? Love Perryman. Perryman's a thumper. Perryman was always getting hurt because he didn't hold back. He went 110 miles an hour and thumped people. So you need quality backups in that position, and I think we got it. And what we don't have yet, we got a little bit in this game, but it was just a little bit, is what Junior's going to ultimately end up being, right? I don't think they want Perryman as the full-time starter. That's supposed to be Junior. But as Brennan and I were talking about in the last pod, this is probably another one of those gifts, maybe, where we get Perryman to start the season as the seasoned veteran next to Dayon Henley, who's kind of basically a rookie anyway, right? He redshirted last year as a rook. And let Colson kind of maybe grow in to that by maybe week 3, 4, and then switch off where the young buck is going in there and being the starter, and Perryman's more the role player and the leader and filling that role, kind of Tony Jefferson of the linebacker room. It seemed to make sense to me. Then you got your Neiman's and those guys filling out that room.
Yeah, I love it. I love the process that the linebackers are doing.
Yeah.
Yeah, another thing I like about Troy Dye is one thing that I've been really big on is team chemistry. Last couple of years with Staley, it corrupted. A lot of guys were Staley guys, a lot of guys weren't, so it was kind of divided in the locker room. Troy Dye is actually a former teammate with Justin Herbert at Oregon. That just adds another team chemistry, not even just with play and skill. It just makes the locker room a little more of the family, and I truly believe if you have no bad blood and you're a family, you're going to win more ball games because you're just clicking more. So I kind of like that pickup. He is doing great, so I like that he's performing well. That way he can come in and hopefully just add some more of that team chemistry. And like you were saying earlier, Andrew Neiman, I love the guy. He's been in and out with our team the past couple years. And especially with injuries, he's been going in and he makes some plays, especially with preseason. He makes some plays, and I've really liked the guy. I've always thought he's played really hard. So seeing him past my expectations in this preseason and become a reliable linebacker, I really like that. So like you guys were saying, I think our linebacker room is shaping up to be very good.
Yeah, I think it's pretty well set. I don't know if there's going to be really any surprises in the linebacker room, based on what we've seen in preseason, what we kind of were summarizing here. What do you say we headed over to the offense, and let's talk about a few of the positions in the offense that there's some folks competing for roster spots. Let's start with the running backs. I think we'll just scratch a couple names off the list right away that we know for sure. Gus and KJ, or JK, pardon me. Those guys are locks. And then that leaves Kamani, that leaves Spiller, that leaves Dotson, and that leaves our guy Patterson. So how many guys do you think are going to make it in the running back room? And after we get Gus and JK, who's filling out the rest of that room based on what we've seen in preseason?
Boy, that one's tough. I really like Dotson. There was just something about the way he played. I want to really like him as a player. But there's a way that Jarrett Patterson showed up this preseason, and holy cow, is he like a reflection of Kamani Vidal in a lot of ways. Like their stature is very similar.
Yeah. It's like 5'5", I think they said.
Yeah,
5'5".
small guys.
Yeah.
I see them, and I could be wrong, I see them carrying 4, and I think Vidal's, I'm not confident in saying, like, oh, he's the clear 3. I'm not saying that, but it just kind of looks like because, the absence is just kind of why I'm saying that. But I guess I would say he's probably the 3rd. And then to me, Jarrett Patterson's got to be the 4th, just from what I've seen production-wise. Really like Dotson. And then Spiller, man. We wanted a bruiser from A&M who was going to mix up that run game chemistry, but it just never came to fruition. So, yeah, I think they're going to roll with 4, and I see it being Gus, J.K., Vidal, and Patterson.
Brennan?
I think you said it perfectly. I was pretty much going to say the same exact thing. I really like every running back. I think it's really tough. I think they all have a piece that can add on to our running back room. However, if it came down to it, like you said, the obvious JK and Gus, and then I say Kamani, and then it's going to be Patterson. Patterson, I just feel like has an edge over the other two. He's showed a little more of what I feel like Jim Harbaugh can use in our offense, and he showed a little more of that in the preseason. So like Andrew said, it's going to be those 4, and I do agree with him. I think they're going to go with 4 running backs. We just have too many where I think they're going to complement perfectly with our offense, and I think they're too good of a player to be on our practice squad or somewhere else.
Yeah, and I'll third exactly that. That's those are my 4. I think they'll keep 4, and I think those are my 4. And I would say it's really 1A and 1B with Gus and JK, and then 2A and 2B with Kamani and Patterson. I would not be shocked if they try and stash Dotson on the practice squad. Wouldn't be shocked by that at all. I think he's still got huge upside, and I think they'll just cut bait with Spiller at this point. Give him an opportunity to catch on with another team. Tight ends. This is an interesting room because we've had some turnover here recently in this room, and for whatever reason, maybe it's because of Stick. I'm going to put this on Stick, but Donald Parmesan, the big Donald Parm, has not shown anything this season. We know the guy can catch, and we know Justin loves to throw him that ball, up at that crossbar level, coming across the end zone, but he hasn't shown anything, and we know he can't block for shit. And so that is a major check mark against him, major strike against him in Giro's offense. So love to hear you guys' thoughts. I know who 2 tight ends are going to be. After that, for me, it's a kind of like a coin toss if they keep more than 2. What you guys got for me on tight ends, man?
Yeah, I think Stone Smart gets the smidge. And the only reason I want to lean that way, not the only reason, I take that back, but Chicken Parm doesn't play special teams, does he?
I
don't think so.
Especially after he got hurt. That remembers, 3 seasons ago, he got hurt really bad. Yeah. And he was out. It was a neck injury or something.
He's a big, skinny guy. So
yeah. There's a lot of things that are like consistent with Parham, and that's, good red zone threat, but he's always hurt too. And that's a problem. I think Stone Smart edges him out.
Athleticism-wise, I think Smart's got him. It's just he's still so raw. We really haven't seen his ceiling yet.
Yeah.
Can the staff get that out of him? We'll have to see. My
fingers are still, I'm still wishful thinking for the day that we get that tight end that supports Justin Herbert. I can't wait to see that. But yeah, Parham's not that. So I would be okay with, kind of parting ways from here.
So you think maybe we're rolling with 3? Is that what I'm hearing, Andrew?
It's the thing that bothers me is he doesn't contribute to the special teams, and when you look at how tight everything else is, if someone has to go, Parham to me is, I don't know, can he go practice squad? That would maybe make
They've loosened up the practice squad rules, so I think more veteran people can be on the practice squad now versus the olden days when it was always just like, second, third year type of players. Now I think you can pretty much be a vet and still be stashed on the practice squad. But just looking here, we got that Zach Hines, 6'7", 260 out of South Dakota State. A lot of folks were high on him that he might make, a showing in preseason. He really didn't flash anywhere that I saw in any of the games. We just signed this other dude. Man, that guy's got a nice head of hair. Tucker Fisk.
Yeah, that's the one where it's like, it makes me think about Parham's role here, because it's like, didn't work out with the first guy, and then the gentleman you just mentioned, we pick him up so quickly, like they want something else.
Exactly, right? It's almost like there's something, there's an itch that isn't being scratched in that room, so to speak. And then we got this other guy. What was his name? Was Rex or something like that? Or am I thinking of a different guy? Someone had a last name Rex. Maybe it's a different position that I'm confusing here. I'm probably leaning towards Smart as the third guy, and they probably roll with 3 because we're going to get into the wide receivers next. And so they may forego a tight end for a wide receiver. What are your thoughts on this, Brennan? I'm leaning with the 3, and I'm giving Stone Smart another season to prove himself, or at least the beginning of the season to prove himself, because I think Ortiz has shown he is not afraid to bring somebody in, and they'll bring somebody in all 18 weeks of the season if they need to, if they feel that they are not aligned properly. So they may keep Smart around and then go, oh no, guess what? Somebody just got cut on another team, and they're going to swap him out in week 2.
Yeah, I was actually going to say that. So I think we're going to start with 3, but I don't believe that we necessarily are going to end with 3. So I feel like you just said, Ortiz is not afraid to change up the roster. There's going to be different needs, different changes throughout the season. I really do think, maybe it's just a biased Charger opinion, but I do think that Will Dissly and Hayden Hurst are going to complement each other. Will Dissly's the guy that you're not going to get through him if he's blocking, one of the best blocking tight ends like we were talking about in the previous podcast. And Hayden Hurst, he's shown flashes with Lamar. He's shown flashes in Atlanta. So he could be that nice passing tight end or receiving tight end that we do need. And with that, those two being so different tight ends, feel like they can complement each other, where the Stone Smart and the Chicken Parm don't even necessarily even fit in this equation. But like you guys said, if I had to choose, I say give Stone Smart one more season. We haven't really given him a opportunity to prove himself, in my opinion, with all of the other tight ends we've brought in. So it's going to be interesting regardless what happens.
Yeah, I think that room's going to be in flux. Dissly and our boy Hurst, I think they're set in stone. Dissly's an animal on the line. And by the way, he can actually catch, everybody's used to him block. And then all of a sudden he sneaks out and picks up 17 yards over the middle, right? The guy can actually catch the damn ball. And then Hurst is incredibly athletic. I think he's the George Kittle I think he's got, and he looks for contact once he's got the ball. I mean, he's just got all of that makeup that you like in a hard enough. The reason when he was interviewed, when he came to the Chargers, the reason he said he came here is because of this offense that he played in Baltimore, and he wants to smack people around for 60 minutes. Sure, I'll catch the ball when it's thrown to me, but otherwise I'm cool just smacking people around for 60 minutes because it's fun to watch their will drain as the game goes on. And I'm like, I like this dude. Okay, this guy's going to fit in perfectly, right?
Yeah, man. I've been, like, as the kids say, low-key fanboying over Hayden Hurst. Like, no one cares about that opinion maybe, but, like, just from what you said, you know, hearing the same things that are coming out of his mouth, I'm like, I love this guy. And it just looks like it's bound to happen. And Justin Herbert could be that guy that helps him have that season. I don't know. I think I see it with him. I'm a big fan of Hayden Hurst.
We know Justin can get him the ball.
Yeah.
Right. And you know, if Disley's, they're going to be running a lot of 2 tight end sets. And it's inevitable that, you know, he's going to get his share. Is he going to put up, you know, those big, huge Kelsey numbers and stuff? No, that's not how this offense is going to be built. But is he going to get his? Yeah, and I think he's going to get he's going to have some big plays. I don't think they're just going to be little dink and dunks either. I think they're going to exploit when all of the defense is coming up to hit Gus and hit JK. Play action, and he's going to be like red hair coming out the back of his helmet down the center of the field, right?
Don't be surprised.
That guy just get 35 yards, right? So I think those two are they fit the scheme. The rest of it's going to be a work in progress. Let's roll the wide receivers because this one's super interesting. I'm going to be really, you know what? I'll let you guys go first on all the other ones, so I'm going first on this one. All right. We know Palmer's Palmer. All right. Josh is Josh. I think they really like him. He's shown a lot of leadership, supposedly, in camp this year, quiet leadership. So we've got Josh. Chark. DJ? Chark? Strike DJ?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That guy's got speed like crazy. Oh, and by the way, he's also got hands. So that's going to be good. I think he was a little dinged up here this last game. I don't think he played, or maybe in camp. He took a few days off. So we got those 2 guys. We know Ladd's making the team. And it's looking like he's wide receiver 3 at this point is kind of how it looks. So 1, 2, and 3. And then number 4, dude, I had written this guy off. I absolutely wrote him off as just I didn't even give him the time of day as we rolled into the training camp. Semi's bald. I think he's a lock. I could be completely wrong, but I think between the effort he's shown and the skill set he's shown, I don't know how they can not keep him on the roster. Okay, so that gives us what? That's 4. Rolling from there, Darius is a lock. Period. Right, because he's punt returner, kick returner. So where are we going from there, man? Quentin? I mean, it's weird that Quentin. Now Quentin's down like 5 for me. Okay, and he was a number 1 pick last year. I think they keep Quentin around. They've been talking really high about Quentin, and he is a previous number 1 pick. So there's 6. Are we keeping 7? And I don't think Rice is beating Quentin out.
I don't think Rice is beating Semi out. Like,
no, he's not beating Semi out. Semi's caught like everything thrown his way, dude.
Yeah,
like everything. And walking the tightrope on that sideline, that was a great play. And by the way, Semi's bigger than I thought he was too. He's actually a pretty big boy. He's 6'4", 218. Okay, so he's not like a 6'0" receiver. He's 6'4". So there's my 6. And the question is, are we keeping 7? Well, if we only kept 2 tight ends, maybe we do stash Brandon on the active roster. I don't know. I don't think Cornelius he's going to the practice squad. I don't know if any of these other guys are even going to go to the practice squad, the Jalen Gills and the Jalen Johnsons and the Leon Johnsons. But what do we do with Brandon Rice? I know they're really high on him, and they think he's got a huge upside. I'm open to other thoughts because I think it could go either way with the kid.
Yeah, I think, like you said, I think it can go either way. The coaching staff and the Chargers brass seems to be very high on him. He has shown flashes. He's a pretty big dude. And so I think he can definitely become a great wide receiver. If you practice squad him, that doesn't say we don't bring him up. He could be showing great flashes. If someone gets injured, he can always go in then to develop him a little more throughout the season. Just to let us keep one roster spot open for someone who's a little more in the gray area. But like you said, either way, I think it would be good for the team. But if I had to choose, I think they would practice squad him. I do not see us keeping 7 wide receivers. And like you said, he's not beating Simi out. So.
Yeah, and I'd be afraid if you practice squad him, somebody's going to snatch him off the practice squad just because of his name.
Yeah.
Alone and the potential upside. So, what do you got, Andrew? See, Semi on the spot. How can you not put the guy on the roster? I had written he was dead. I mean, I was like, they shouldn't even keep him on the roster, and he balls out.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't agree more as far as the Semi thing goes, and you can see the chemistry with Herbert. The competitors welcome. Semi made the most of it. 2 receptions. 2. And Easton Stick, these poor receivers, he drove me crazy. Like, it was frustrating, because talk about a guy who, this is a new system. Man, this is what, year 4, year 5? What is it, year 4? 5? Man,
he's a free agent.
You brought it up.
He's a free agent twice.
Some of those throws, it's like, throw it away. He didn't do them any favors. Poor Brendan Rice. In the small sample size that I did see, when I was looking at Brendan Rice, before we even drafted him, I was like, that guy has upside physical traits. But I saw, and this is the NFL, but I saw him catch a ball, and that ball get smacked out of his hands. Very small sample size, not a fair way to, I'm not judging him off of that. But we didn't see, he wasn't able to make the most of that small opportunity. I hope he clears waivers, but if anyone's probably not going to make it, it might be Rice.
Is there a reason he went in the 7th round? I mean, obviously there is. Everybody predicted he was going to go higher, and we snatched him in the 7th round. There's a reason for that.
And I don't know what that reason is.
It's raw.
Yeah. I watched a lot of his tape. I was big on – I'm a Brendan Rice fan. Going into the draft.
Here in my town. I'm in Chandler.
Yeah.
He's a local boy. Love him.
I like the way he played. I just don't know what exactly it was. Yeah, he's not the fastest guy, but he looks like he could be a balanced, solid receiver in the league. So, I don't know.
Yeah, it's not always about speed, as Keenan proved, right? It's about route running and separation and being in the right place, the right time, all those intangibles. It's not just size and speed, but he does got good size. But Semi's got him on size too, right? Brendan's 6'3", 210, Semi's 6'4", 216. Semi, he doesn't look as big as he is. And I think Fouts called that play, and he's like 6'4". I'm like, 6'4"? I got to go look that up. Son of a gun. He's 6'4". So, yeah, I think we're kind of all on the same page with these receivers. Maybe they find a way to move Darius as a special teams guy to where in their minds anyway, he's not counting against the wide receiver room, even though he's going to be in the wide receiver room. And then they keep Brendan Rice, but that's one we're going to have to watch because Tuesday is cut down day. If I'm not mistaken, Tuesday, is it 1 o'clock Eastern time? Something like that is cut down day. So you're going to see a lot of folks getting cut loose this week. So that's one we need to keep an eye on. Quarterbacks. We've had some changes during camp at quarterback. We cut 2 quarterbacks and signed 1 quarterback. So now we're sitting with Justin, the golden boy, and we still got Easton. We cut Duggan, and I don't even know who that other kid was. I don't know where we got
Casey. I think you pronounce it Bauman or Bowman.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah, and he got cut right away, basically. And then we brought in Perez. Perez showed up, but I think there's a reason Perez is 30-something years old and playing, B League, C League ball, and, being signed in camp where he was signed. I don't think he's the second coming of Kurt Warner or something like that, per se. If I had a wish, and Ortiz is listening to this pod right now, go sign Huntley or Heineke. As soon as those guys are cut loose by their teams on Tuesday, go sign one of those 2 guys in the quarterback room. You can keep Easton if you want, just to keep Justin happy, because Justin likes Easton and they're buddies and he's a good sounding board. But make Easton the 3rd emergency quarterback and bring in either Huntley, who's played for Baltimore. He's got some starts under his belt and he could probably win you a game, or Taylor Heineke, who's got like 20-something starts under his belt, and in a pinch, he could probably win you a game. But he's not just going to make you shake your head and, cry. That's my take on it. What do you guys got?
I think every game matters, and what we have is not going to work. I don't know who it is, out there, but bring in something new. Like you said, maybe keep stick. I don't care. 5 years. It irked me, man. I kid. Out of the preseason teams, it was like, are we that team that's just constantly going 3 and out? It's pissing me off. I hate it. I love our team, and I don't think it's fair to the future and Justin Herbert. As far as every game's going to be so crucial. Hopefully Herbert plays every down, every game. But in the case that he doesn't, every game is going to be so important. I think this is a big window and an opportunity for Justin Herbert's career in this team. We got to get something good in there to back him up.
Yeah, I agree. I think Justin Herbert has shown the last 2 seasons that he is not superhuman. He isn't skill-wise, but when it comes to he's an actual human, he's proved, and he gets injured like every other person. So we're not as blessed like we're with Phillip Rivers, where he didn't miss 1 game in the span of the however decade plus years he played with us.
Yeah.
So I think it is just like Andrew said, it's security. I don't know what it's going to be. Maybe a veteran quarterback off waivers. But Justin Herbert has proved that he can get injured, even if it's just for 1 game. I would feel way more confident if we had a quarterback that could win us that game, because later on in the season, that game could be crucial for our record. And that could all be just because of quarterback too. So if we can just pick up a veteran and scratch that off of worries, I think that'd be a great opportunity for us, whether it's Huntley or Heineke.
Yeah, and anybody listening to this pod, I don't think Tannehill's a realistic option. I think he's holding out to actually be a starter when a starter goes down. Exactly. He's going to want the starter money. That's not what we're looking for. We'll probably pay someone in the neighborhood of $4 or $5 million. to get a seasoned, someone who's got starts under their belts, who's proven they can win in the NFL, 50% of the time kind of thing. Name just popped into my head. What do you guys think of, what if Denver cuts Zach Wilson loose? Nope.
I'm out. Gosh, I hate to be that way. I sound stubborn. Because, there are glimpses of Zach Wilson that are kind of good.
He won some games last year after Rodgers went down.
Yeah, I guess it's a little unfair to me, but I don't know.
I don't know if Denver's going to cut him. I think he'll probably end up being the number 2, actually, behind Bo. But you never know, right?
If the price is right, I guess, why not?
Well, let me ask you this, gentlemen. Is he better than Easton?
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
So, personally...
Okay. So we got that going for us.
Yeah, so if you look at last season, he went toe-to-toe. Zach Wilson went toe-to-toe with all of the noise, with everybody saying he shouldn't even be in the league anymore. He went toe-to-toe with Patrick Mahomes and put up a really good game. There was a play where he dove, took a big hit, and he proceeded to still throw multiple 10-plus yard plays, and he made it a really close game. Whether they lost or won the game, Easton Stick could never do that, in my opinion. It showed last season he had 4 to 6 games to prove to even get one win, and he couldn't even do that. The Raiders put 63 points against us with him. Personally, I don't think Zach Wilson wouldn't let that happen regardless of what his past is. So I think it would be a super upgrade compared to Easton Stick. However, if we have other opportunities, I do think we should stick with that. But like Andrew said, I would hate to be stubborn. So if we could pick him up, I feel like that's an opportunity to look at.
Yeah, I had never even thought that until literally just now that popped into my head. It's like stranger things have happened. I wouldn't necessarily be shocked if he got cut loose. And if you had to choose between those two guys, okay, we've got one game. Which one do you want quarterback in your team to possibly have the best chance to win it? I'll go Zach over Easton. Sorry. In fact, I'll 10 times out of 10, I'll go with Zach. He's shown a lot of character. He was getting just absolutely bashed in New York, and showed a lot of character. So this is another one we're going to have to keep our eyes on, guys. Wrapping up the offense. We still got defense to talk a little bit about. Maybe we don't need to go through every position on defense, but offense, just real quick. From my perspective on offense, offensive line, pardon me, there's really only one position for me that I have concern about that I think is not a done deal, and that is center. I think we need a proven backup center, and I am not convinced that person's on the roster currently. I think they're working with Foster Sorrell and what's his name, Brandon Hymus. I don't think they're comfortable that those guys are the guy, and obviously Bradley Bozeman's been dealing with some stuff here in camp. So come cut down day, I'm not. In fact, I'll be shocked if they don't sign a backup center, to be honest with you guys. Where are your thoughts on the O-line before we move over to defense?
Depth is scary, like you mentioned. I don't know. I don't like what I see from Brendan Hymus. I think he's okay, but that's just the offensive line depth to me is kind of flawed. I like the starters, but the rest worries me.
What about Jamari? Jamari's backup now.
I like Jamari. I think he's serviceable. He did great when he was at left guard. Or
left tackle. Remember when he filled in for Slater 2 seasons ago? He balled as a rookie. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I meant. Yeah, he looked great there. So I like him. But Brendan Hymus and the other supporting cast. I'm not very confident in it. And with this style of play, the guys behind, every guy, the next man up's got to be a Warrior. I would not be mad if we continued every draft, kind of keep selecting early on those guys. I wouldn't hate that idea.
Well, it fits the business model that Ortiz and Harbaugh want, which is spend your ones on trenches, not on the glamour positions. And if I was ever gifted an opportunity to build a team, that's exactly where I would start. I would build the lines before I do anything else, even quarterback. I mean, look at what Baltimore did back in the day when they won that Super Bowl. It was all defense and lines, right? What was a quarterback back then? Everybody gave him a bunch of grief, but he ended up winning a Super Bowl. So it's with the lines, man. And yeah, I wouldn't be shocked if they change out a couple more pieces, not just backup center, as we see some players get cut heading into this week. And that probably be a pretty good thing.
But yeah, that was a good point. I don't know who is like. I wouldn't be surprised if they went and got something for the center position behind Bradley.
For me, that one's a must. They really don't have a proven backup center. Can you interchange a guy for a few plays, a couple series? Okay, hold down the fort. But if the guy goes down for a couple games, half a season, we're up the proverbial creek, I would say. Brennan, anything on the
line? I think you guys said it very well when it comes to I think we're going to gradually build this O-line into a monster. I think we're going to gradually each year in the draft grab another piece of that O-line, whether it's solid depth or a starting piece. I feel like in the next maybe year or two, our O-line is going to be very good. I can already see him being built with and even last year with the different management, we've still have been able to have those young guys like Zion Johnson as well and Rashawn Slater, and they're going to become, I feel like, solid vets as well as getting those new guys in. So I feel like it's a building process for us. If we can get some solid guys off waivers or in free agency, that'd be a plus as well.
Well, 3 of our 5 positions are first-round picks, right?
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys saw that interview with Zion Johnson. It's probably about a week and a half ago. He was talking about him and Slater. Basically hung out the whole off season in Texas.
Oh yeah.
Literally they were joined at the hip, hung out together, played together, practiced together, worked out together, worked on their technique together. And so that left side of the line, I'm sitting there going, man, I love to hear that, because communication more than anything and just comfort level with that guy next to you is just as important as skill set. And then, of course, Zion is just a massive human being. So we've got 2 spots that really need to be shored up for the long haul. I think Bozeman's good for a season or 2, but they're probably going to need to draft that next center. Unfortunately, Nick is retired and he's, lost all that weight. He's probably not going to be our backup center, even though he's probably capable if he had to. And then Pipkins, who knows, maybe he surprises all of us and he becomes like just this beast of a right guard. And it's like, well, shit, why didn't you put that guy there 3 years ago? Right. Let's hope that's a problem that we have, as he turns out to be one of the best right guards that we've ever seen don the bolts. But right now he's Pipkins, and let's just be thankful that come week 1, as you and I were chatting about offline earlier, Andrew, that we now have Joe Alt over at right tackle to keep Mr. Crosby in line come week 1. So, I think it's a work in progress on that line, but boy, I sure like the way it's heading. And I'd feel a little more comfortable if we had a seasoned veteran who's got some starts under their belt at center behind Bradley Bozeman. So let's roll over to D. An easy one. We kind of already touched on it. Andrew, Brennan, linebacker room. How many you think we're going to be keeping in that linebacker room? And who are those names?
5. And that's Junior Colson, Denzel Perryman, Deion Henley, Troy Dye, Nick Neiman. That's how I see it.
Gotcha. Those would be my top 5. I don't know if we would roll with 6. Trying to think who else might have been in there who was showing out. Shane Lee. What do you think? They're going to practice squad that guy? He was balling.
Hopefully.
Then we also had a gentleman by the name of Tremon Morris Brash. I think technically he was playing edge, but they have him listed as linebacker. 5 seems like the right number right now because I think they're going to keep a little extra on the edge, which if Brennan, if you want to jump over to the edge, if there's no surprises in the linebacker room from what Andrew had, just bounce right over to the edge.
Yeah, so actually, interesting about Tremon Morris Brash is, so Chris Rumpf is, correct me if I'm wrong, is he's on the edge as well. And it's been a big story last couple of games where I think he has an injury or he hasn't been performing too well for the Chargers brass. And so Tremon Morris Brash has been killing it as of recently, and a lot of talks have been saying he's going to take his spot. So I think it very well on the edge. Tremon Morris Brash could be a good depth for us. I saw him playing on the edge and then going back out. That's where he got his interception. He lined up on the edge and then he went back. So I think he could be very good. But the obvious ones, in my opinion, to cut it short, is Joey Bosa, Khalil Mack. You got Tui Tuipulotu and Bud Dupree pretty much on the end. Because, they're outside linebackers, but those are going to be your main edge rushers and the guys you see making the big plays on the field, in my opinion.
Yeah, those guys are locks.
Yeah.
For sure. And what a great problem to have with that depth that we can just cycle guys through. Like we were talking the last pod, I'm really going to keep my eye on Joey all season because I'm hopeful if Joey can play a full season, and this might be the season he can pull it off. Number one, he's got Ben Herbert to help him bend but not break. But number two, he doesn't have to play every down now. We can cycle through between Thule and Bud, and I don't think they're stopping it for. I think we'll at least keep 5 edge. And so the question is it Rumpf or did Tremon Morris Brash with that super athletic interception? Not to mention he's been in the backfield all 3 preseason games. Did he just beat out Chris Rumpf?
I think it was a good chance he did, in my opinion.
I think that interception pretty much – you guys have seen the interviews with Harbaugh, right? And these reporters, especially Popper, there's a little thing between Harbaugh and Popper. I don't know if you guys have noticed, right? But Popper's like Harbaugh's like, we're going to keep the best players. Well, define what the best players are. The ones who play the best. I got to love Harbaugh, right?
Man.
Right? It's like your eyes can see who plays the best. This isn't rocket science, right? You can see it. That guy balled in the preseason. It's kind of like saying Fajoko's not going to make the team. No, he was all over the tape.
I'm a Brash fan, and I can't get the clip out of my head when Rumpf was facing off against Hayden Hurst when I think he was in Seattle. Did he ever? I forgot where. Raven. Anyways, he was on a previous team. He literally grabbed Rumpf and threw him. Like, are you an adult? I don't think so. I'm the adult here.
I think that was Cincy.
I'm on
Cincinnati. Yeah.
You're on defense, and I'm going to throw you. So I can't get that out of my head, and
Ragdolled him.
I'll take Brash going forward.
Yeah, the guy just seems to be a ball player, and at the end of the day, I think that's all Ortiz and Harbaugh care about. They don't care about where you were drafted. They don't care if they drafted you or the last regime drafted you. They just want guys who are going to come in and compete and ball. And Brash showed out. He's one of those guys. I didn't know who this guy was coming into camp, and then how can you ignore him? I mean, that interception was one of the most athletic interceptions you're going to see. And then, of course, he plows the QB on his way into the end zone. I mean, you got to love that. It's all good. So 5, you think, or 6 on the edge?
Rump's hurt. I mean,
Yeah, so he's hurt. So
like, he might be. He's leaning like IR. I don't know what that means for your career at this point.
Oh, if they IR him, then he's not on the roster.
Yeah,
At least for, depending on how they do it, at least for a good part of the season, which I guess might be helpful for the Chargers because that makes that decision easy then. They keep Morris Brash and Rump goes on IR and everybody's happy. Safeties.
Real quick, before we get to safeties, I just want to compliment Tier Tart. I like what I saw.
Yeah.
Recent pickup.
He's making the team.
Yeah, I like that that mixture of Puna, Tier Tart, and then Tito. Like that. That's another little swing through of players that it's great. This is a great factory pressure, and I'm into it.
Well, and we needed that big body. Puna was it, but he can't be it. Those big boys, they can't do that down in and down out, especially first and second down. So getting that other guy in there. And I was listening to an interview the other day where I forget who it was, but was basically saying they had their eye on that dude for a while. Tart, they wanted him. And so the moment he became available, it was like, oh no, he's coming over here and he's going to be on the team. So, and he's shown out. So I think he just fits the scheme that Jesse Mentor wants. And so, yeah, you've got a rotation of those guys in the middle, and then we've got a rotation of the guys on the edge, and you're keeping that high caliber talent fresh. And then, Foxy's going to just do what Fox does in his position. So, that's a good mention. That guy, I think he's going to pay some big dividends, and he's going to make the edges' lives just a little bit easier too when you get that push up the middle. So, safeties, we got Derwin, we got Alohi, we've got Tony Jefferson. Pardon me?
Dean Leonard.
Dean Leonard's a DB.
Corner. Is Dean Leonard a corner?
Was he at safety last year?
Yeah, because I could swore he played safety at one point. Because I know he goes back sometimes.
Yeah, you might be right. That sounds familiar. But I think AJ Finley's like that third guy.
Yeah.
I think that's kind of how they're seeing it with the packages. Like he's kind of the third guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so we've already touched on the position. You guys thinking we're 4 there or 3?
I think worst case scenario, it's 3 Tony practice squad. Worst case scenario.
Yeah. Gotcha. Yeah, I'm thinking we'll probably be 4. You need a little bit of depth there, and then you get the benefit of Tony kind of being that coach on the field. Keep the young, fresh legs as kind of the every down in, down out, especially when they're moving Derwin all over like a chess piece. That's where Finley's gonna, make his paychecks. But then Tony's been around so long, he's seen so much, and then we just watched what he was able to do between his years of experience, and it looks like his it took him a little while maybe to get back in shape, even though he said he stayed in pretty good shape. Well, he was a scout for Baltimore when we signed him. Is that crazy or what? He was doing scouting for Baltimore. And so I was listening to an interview and he's like giving scouting on all of the guys on our defense. And he's like, oh, I need to stop doing that. I need to, stop being the scout. They're my teammates now. It was pretty cool, but he's high on the guys on this defense. He really likes what we've got there. And I think he can kind of coach those guys up quite a bit, even a Derwin, to be honest with you. So I'd be surprised if we don't keep 4 and Tony's number 4. What about DBs, Brennan? It'd be interesting because we've got some bodies in this room.
Yeah, I think 2 of the obvious starters are Asante Samuel and Christian Fulton. Christian Fulton, I was a little nervous with him with his injuries. But early on in his career, man, that guy was a ball hawk. He was really good talent, and he has shown it, especially with all of the footage I've seen in training camp. The guy has gotten multiple interceptions, regardless if it's from our own quarterbacks. He's been killing it and showing a lot of talent. So I think those 2 are locks easily. And then now Dean Leonard comes into play. Now he's been killing it. I think he's been a very good key player in this preseason. With that interception, I think it was game 2, and he's definitely killing it. So I think he could be that 3 for us for sure. And then you got JT Woods, who's going to play the outside cornerback position as well. And I think he's going to make the team. He's been getting talked about too much, in my opinion, for him not to make the team. And he's been showing a lot of skill and talent. And just to be flat out honest, I think he just wants it very bad, and he knows he's kind of on the tightrope, so he's working really hard to get to that spot. So personally, I think those 4 are for sure locks. But I do want to hear your guys' input on like the outside guys and who do you think is going to be in and out of that.
Yeah, I think they've got some choices. I think they got some decisions to make. Christian and Asante are locks.
Yep.
After that,
that's where we get Dean Leonard and
Desir Taylor, JT Woods, Tarheeb Steele, who's shown out.
Cam Hart,
Tarheeb, our draft picks, guys. Okay.
Yeah, I totally
kind of forgot.
Passed my mind off there.
Right? Tarheeb has shown out, okay? Cam Hart has had flashes in camp. And then these guys who played yesterday.
Matt Hankins.
What was that one kid? He just ripped the ball out of that receiver's hands. That was all a will play. So how many are we keeping? 5, 6?
I see what the depth. 6.
Boy.
And our math has to add up to 53. Now, we're not going to do that on the pod. We don't have time for that. But we can't keep everybody at the pod.
Yeah.
I see 5. I see Jasir Taylor, Asante,
Christian,
Jasir Taylor,
Dean Leonard,
our 2 draft picks, and then Hankins fringe. Like he played very well.
See, and I don't see how they let Dean Leonard go.
No.
Right? But then JT's the odd man out again.
Yeah. So for me, Brennan, I think that's kind of the only thing I think I disagree with you on is the JT Woods thing. But maybe I just haven't seen what you've seen. Maybe there are packages and things like that where he has like a place here. But for me, I really liked JT Woods in college at Baylor. He was a track star, stud. I really liked him. But the film that I would watch on him, I did not see the physicality translate in the NFL. He has speed, But for me, I would see him as a cut candidate. But we'll see how it plays out.
Yeah, I mean, he's got the skills. He's got the skill set. He's long, he's fast, but he's transitioning right now, right? And so there's not a lot of tape and experience with him at corner. I know they're really appreciative of the fact that he's willing to do anything. He hasn't complained about being moved over to corner. Everybody's talked very, good about the fact that he's just doing it and he's embracing it and trying to use his skill set. But this is a room. I mean, there's more bodies like the wide receiver room. There's more bodies than there are going to be spots or chairs, if you will. I don't know how Tarheeb doesn't make the roster.
Yeah, I think he's in, and they probably moved him there for a reason.
Well, they knew he wasn't going to make it as a third or fourth safety.
Yeah, I mean
that's why they did it.
When I think of Thomas Harper and Akeem Dent, I don't have anything. I mean, Robert Kennedy and Matt Hankins, I saw stuff. I mean, these are guys outside of our draft picks, right? But these other guys, nothing sticks out.
Yeah, no, I could see because those guys showed yesterday. Hankins showed, and number 40 showed. What was that, Kennedy?
I think so.
Kennedy's the one who had the interception in the end zone at the end of the game, and Hankins is the one who went up and ripped the ball out of the receiver's hands. Those guys are practice squad all day long. Develop the talent, and God forbid you have a guy go down. They're familiar with your scheme, and you bring them up, right? I don't see those guys making the active roster week one for sure. There's just more bodies in that room than there are places for them. But it's not a slam dunk. And so that's another one we're going to want to keep our eye on. We've got a couple spots where we're going to really keep our eye on here in the next couple days. And then, the big elephant in the room of all of this is there's going to be some players on other teams that we like that get cut.
Yeah, I'm excited.
It's going to happen. That's who Ortiz is. He's going to be like, ooh, I like that guy better than I like my guy. And he's going to swap them out.
We got a little bit of money, too.
Yeah. They did a really good job of handling our cap space, even though everybody was really upset about Mike and Keenan. But, you can't keep everybody. So I think that's pretty much it. You guys got any other observations about the roster, about preseason that we didn't cover? I mean, we've pretty much covered everything as far as I know. Any surprises you guys are expecting that we haven't talked about between now and September 8th when we kick off the season? For me, I'm thinking a new quarterback and a new QB2. Other than that, like I said, I would be shocked, absolutely shocked, if Ortiz doesn't sign at least one, if not two, offensive linemen after cutdowns from other teams. There's going to be some quality depth O-linemen out there that I think they're going to believe are better than some of the pieces we've got on our team. So I'd be a little surprised if we don't do that. Otherwise, I think our roster's shown out pretty good. We get Justin in there and, start doing what it is they want to do. Week one's going to be a fun game.
I agree.
I'm looking forward to it. Looking forward to Joe going against Max Crosby.
Oh, yeah. Me too.
I hope he pancakes him all game long. He won't. Max Crosby's just like the Energizer Bunny. But I think Will Dissly will be hanging out over on that side of the field as well. So it could be interesting. And I'm very, very excited to see Gus and JK get their first carries.
Me too.
In lightning bolts.
It's finally here, guys.
What's that?
Finally here. Next
I know.
up.
I know. It's two weeks, right? 2 weeks from today, actually. 2 weeks away. That happens to be my birthday, by the way. So a W on my birthday, a revenge W for that 63-21, which it wasn't even that close, spanking that finally got Brandon Staley fired. That would be a nice birthday present.
Yes, sir.
For
Hopefully
sure.
we make that happen.
Right?
Yes, sir.
Well, it's nice to see Justin back up and throwing the ball. I think everybody was holding their breath, hoping that plantar fasciitis was minor and not major. I don't think they would have let him be jogging around like he was on the field when he was back if it was more severe. So fingers crossed on that Justin stays upright with those bookend tackles that he's now got, and he has a healthy season. We need him to be healthy all 17 games.
That's right.
Well, cool. Any parting notes before we wrap up?
I think we've handled it all.
Well, gentlemen, I appreciate you guys hanging out with me, man. I can't think of anything more fun to do than talk Chargers, talk ball. Hope to have you guys back on the pod many, many more times as we roll into the season. We're going to get, every week we're going to have a new pod talking about the game that we just played, talking about the game coming up. Love to have you guys hanging out with us, and who knows, maybe we get a couple more Chargers fans in here, and maybe we start looking like the Brady Bunch. How about that?
Why not?
Right?
Yes, sir.
Exactly. So next thing you know, it'll be like a Joe Rogan pod, and it'll be going for 3 or 4 hours, right? I don't know how people watch a 3-hour podcast, but here we've been here hour and a half, something like that. So almost 2. But it's Chargers, and we're heading into the regular season, first season of the Harbaugh era. In Harbaugh, we trust, man. Really looking forward to it. Appreciate you guys. So that's it. That's it for this episode of ChargersCast. Please be sure to comment below. Love to get your comments. Like, subscribe. If you subscribe, then you get notifications every time a new pod is posted to our YouTube page. And do I have any other notes for you guys this week? Nope, that's pretty much it, other than a big welcome to Andrew. Appreciate you joining us, man, from Boltcasa, and Brennan from Chargers.District. Go check those guys out. I know you guys from Instagram. Are you guys out on other social media too, or really just Instagram?
Instagram for me.
I have Instagram, and I've been doing Twitter a lot as of recently, getting out alerts and highlights when they arrive. Nice.
Well, go visit those guys. Go check out their pages, and be sure to catch us on Instagram as well, ChargersCast. And if you're not already out on the YouTube channel, that's where this is going to be, at ChargersCast. And again, thanks for joining us for this episode of ChargersCast.
Herbert stops, launches deep. Jalen Guyton, he's got it! Touchdown Chargers! What a throw! 4 seconds left in the game, but this is likely the final play that matters. End zone wide open. What a night for Mike Williams. And the Chargers have their first lead.